G'day coaches, I am the Draft Monster, charging at you today with some fresh AFL Fantasy content for 2023. The footy season is fast approaching, so today I am counting down my top 10 defenders for 2023, so without further ado, let's talk some AFL Fantasy footy. Coming in at a spicy number 10, I have Hayden Young from the Fremantle Dockers. An incredibly exciting player for the next 10 years. After an injury-ravaged first couple of seasons, Young finally seized his opportunity in 2022 and made himself an indispensable part of Freo's back six with an 87.6 average from 20 games. A stellar breakout year where he found some serious consistency, only going below a score of 75 twice, and a big couple of performances in there as well, with a season high score of 132. A fantastic intercept marker and a great kick to handball ratio, you can count on Hayden Young racking up lots of plus sixes this year. He's not even 22 yet, but it's hard to see this kid slowing down, and I'm expecting a 2023 average of 91. At number 9, I have Angus Brayshaw of the Melbourne Demons. Last year, Gus was the 4th best defender in the league, averaging 99 from 22 games played. Not bad, so why have I got him all the way down at 9th? Well, the way I see it, Brayshaw is your Mr. Fix-It kind of player. He can play any role pretty damn well, but he doesn't specialise and hold down any role in my eyes. Last year he was on the ball and on the wing a lot, and swung back into defence to take a few kick-ins. But now, with the Demons acquiring Brodie Grundy and Lachie Hunter, the midfield is getting a little bit too stacked for my liking, and with Christian Salem coming back and a few young guns coming up in the Demons defence, it just seems like there's too many mouths to feed. If Goodwin, the coach, gives Gus time in the guts, gives in the minutes, he might make more than what I'm giving him, but what I'm giving him this year, I think he's just going to average 92. Next up, I have big Geelong cat Tom Stewart having another All-Australian year. You just can't keep this guy out of the game unless he's suspended for 4 weeks or goes to the chipper for one half. But if you forget about that stuff, Tommy Stewart would have averaged close to 100 last year. He's an intercept marking beast and loves to chain together plenty of mark kick combos. There is some speculation with Bowles coming over from the Gold Coast in the off-season and the emergence of some good young defenders in the Cats that possibly Stewart's numbers will take a dive this year, but I still think he is the main man down the back for the Cats and he can't keep him out of the game, as I said, so I think he's still going to crack a good average of 92. Spaloosh. Isaac Cumming will be the leading man out of the GWS Giants back half this year, and he is stumping on in as my 7th best defender. A new era is coming at the Giants, and I believe Isaac Cumming is a massive part of the plans. With another mini exodus of talent in the off-season in Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper heading off to the Tigers, and a new coach looking to make his mark, I reckon GWS will be spending a fair bit of time getting the ball out of their defensive 50 this year, which is exactly where Isaac Cumming loves to take charge. He took the majority of kick-ins last season, which is evident from his absurd kick-to-handball ratio of 378 to 116, but he also took more marks than handballs last season as well, with 122. Plus sixes for days. Remember to always bring protection to your fantasy lineup, and one of the best ways to stay safe in 23 is Cumming. Book him in for an average of 94. Young Collingwood Magpie Nick Daicos swoops in as my 6th best defender for the year. A future pig of the game, last year in his debut season for the Pies, Daicos averaged a cracking 86.8 from 22 games played. In his first season, that's nuts. And as a junior, his numbers were off the charts. And you know that kind of latent power is just waiting to be unleashed at the top level, and I think Coach Craig McRae will be throwing in plenty of centre bounces this year. But even if Daicos is flying around in defence, he took the second most kick-ins for the Pies last year, and he just finds space so easily. I also think Tom Mitchell is going to influence Daicos in a massive way. I think he'll be feeding Daicos the outside ball all the time, and Titch will be the main focus of attention for the opposition, which may let other Jets like Daicos fly around a little bit more easily. The sky is actually the limit for baby Daicos this year, and it's going to be super interesting to watch, and I actually think he's going to average 95 or beyond. The fantasy gods have given us a gun option down back in the form of Mitch Duncan of the Geelong Cats. My fifth best defender coming into the new season, a midfielder by trade, Duncan has seen plenty of the ball up the guts and on the wing over his 13 seasons in the AFL. Until last year's average of 92, Duncan had finished the last 5 seasons with an average over 100. Now, there is something to be said of durability in recent times, having multiple injuries in the past 2 years, but in the most recent grand final, he was very close to being best on ground, so I'd like to think he is back to being fit and firing. And again, if you look back on his recent yearly averages, it's hard not to slot Duncan into your backline. When he is fit and firing, that is. So I reckon he should return to better form this year, and I think he's going to get around the 100 mark again, but just off it at a 97. Adelaide Crow Jordan Dawson is at number 4 on my list of defenders for 2023. The kick-in king at Adelaide with over 400 kicks, Dawson finished as third best fantasy defender in 2022. He has an insatiable ability to find space and get all around the ground. He even ended up slotting 10 goals and 6 behinds last year and assisted 9 other goals. A real every role kind of player. I do think his average will take a slight hit from last year, with a few Crows coming back into the lineup in the forms of Wayne Millerer, Rory Sloane and Matt Crouch, as well as other recruits and young guns who are hungry for the ball coming up through the ranks. But good luck keeping Jordan Dawson out of the game. Old mate is still going to strike fear into the hearts of his fantasy opponents in 2023, and I think he's going to hit a massive average of 98. Starting out my top 3 defenders, I have Jack Sinclair from St Kilda. And what a season he had in 2022, increasing his previous best average of 79 to 102 last year. The main taker of kick-ins at the Saints, he loves to play on out of the goal square and get a cheeky +3. Sinclair found his feet running straight out of the defense and straight into the midfield for some serious devastation last year. The most disposals at the Saints through kick-ins and being amongst the midfielders, who also consisted of Jack Steele, Brad Crouch and Seb Ross. So to get the most disposals there, not too shabby. The jury is still out on how Ross Lyon is going to influence the team this year, and you've got to account for the re-emergence of young talent like Hunter Clark and Nick Caulfield. But I think you can't hold Sinclair back now, and he is going to get around the 100 mark again, but let's say a 99 average. Taking the silver medal in the backline for 2023, I have James Sicily. Always the controversial one, Jimmy. A hard-nosed defender for the Hawks, Sicily had one of the best kick-to-handball ratios in the AFL last year, sporting just over 4 kicks per handball. And that was with teammate Blake Hardwick taking most of the kick-ins as well. Not only has he been kicking it a lot, but Sicily has also been the #1 marker last year, amassing 190 marks from his 22 regular season games. Huge. Now in 2023, after a mass exodus of talent over the years, Sick Dog finds himself as one of the most experienced and longest serving members of the Hawks starting 22. And in my opinion, he should probably be the next captain. The young Hawks will be looking for safe hands to kick it to in desperate times this year, and you just know that their eyes are going to light up whenever they see James Sicily in his brown and gold long sleeve in even an inch of space. Call it a hot take, but I reckon Sick Dog is going to crack the triple-digit barrier this year and finish close to an average of 103. Before I unveil my #1 pick this year, here are a few defender honourable mentions. For one, I have Jake Lloyd. I think he's been the kick-in king at the Swans for years, but with Nick Blakey coming in and taking almost half the kick-ins last year, that is Jake Lloyd's output struck right back down, and I don't think he'll get past 90. Dan Houston from Port Adelaide does get the midfield minutes, loves to run it up the wing and up the middle, but there are a lot of hungry mouths to feed at Port Adelaide, and I just don't see him getting past 90 again. And finally, for my hot takes, I have Andrew McGrath, former #1 draft pick who was given defensive status for the second or third time in his career this year. He's a new coach in Brad Scott, who I've heard wants to turn him into the next Heath Shaw, which sounds really interesting to me. So I don't know how spicy this one could get, but I'm projecting an 85 to 90 average for Andy McGrath. And now, it should come as no surprise that my #1 pick for defenders this year is the absolute legend himself, Sam Docherty. The #1 defender of 2022 by an absolute mile, 3rd in total kicks, 9th in total marks, 11th in total disposals, right up there with the top of the top piggish performances you could see in 2022. In fact, I like to refer to Sam Docherty as the garbage man because he picks up so much junk. Check these stats out. In 2022, Sam Docherty had 9 quarters of football where he scored 40 plus points, and five separate quarters of football where he scored 50 points. He tonned up 17 times and went on to turn 6 of those tons into 120 plus scores. He also played every 22 regular season games for the Blues, and all in a glorious and consistent return to the sport after being in and out with injuries and surviving cancer over the previous 4 years. Seriously, what a legend. It should also be noted that the last time Docherty played all 22 games in a season was in 2017, where he ended up averaging 116. So what does that mean for 2023? Well, it means that Doc is here to stay as the top defender of the food chain, and he'll be as hungry as ever. The Doctor is going well into triple digits again this year, and I'm thinking he could go 112. And that is that for my top 10 AFL Fantasy Defenders for 2023. Do you agree with my picks? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like what you saw today, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter. I've been the Draft Monster, and yeah, follow me for some more content in the future. Cheers.